Hi, friends. I don't know about all of you, but I am someone who, if you know me, um, identifies as a fixer. And so, a lot of people do come to me with their problems, especially family or close friends. Sometimes I immediately want to go into a fix it mode where I'm just like, how can I fix this? And people are like, here's my problem. And then I'm like, okay, let me take it and let me figure out, like, what I can do or what can we do together. And one thing that I've realized through coaching is one thing that's like really important at the beginning is to recognize, like, just for yourself, like, is this my problem? And, do I need to like take ownership of it? Or is this person, just coming to me for advice, guidance? And I think, that is number one, like a huge distinction. And it helps, me, myself, like preserve my energy or also just like my mindset to be like, okay, if this, is not my personal problem, but my friend or close friend just, wants to vent, then that's, I can be present for, just listening, offering compassion, or two, if they are looking for some assistance with or guidance with solving their problem, then, I can think about that rather than being like, oh no, like, what do I have to do? Or like, this is like something, another thing like for me to fix. And I think this really helps actually the question of, is this my problem in um, parenting? And so, of course, like I want my children to have, smooth experiences and not encounter, like great suffering or hardship. But I do want them to be able to solve, their own problems and not me solve like every single one of their problems. And I think that, as parents, many of us do want that. And so I wanted to tell this story just to talk about that number one distinction about, recognizing like whether or not it is my problem or, I need to intervene. And then second, one of my favorite questions to ask when it isn't my problem and I'm trying to give, guidance to my child. But I think outside of like parenting, this is totally helpful for anyone, including even when you're talking to your own self. And so this story is just happened the other day, actually. And so my son is back at school, or both of my kids are back at school. Hooray! And he came to me, with a problem. And he basically, the problem is that he said that he was nervous about going back to a specific class, library. And I said, why? You love reading. I mean, like, you love the library. Like, why would you be nervous about going to library? And he said, last week I was late to library. And so I was like, oh, why were you late? Don't you just like go with your, class, like your whole class goes together because it's library time? And he said, yeah, that is normally what happens. But he's like, I am pulled out of class. So I'm in this other, smaller class where he has some, extended learning opportunities. And so he's pulled out. So he's in a small class. So he's like, I'm not with my, regular kind of like homeroom class that goes to libraries. So last week they went first and I was a little bit late because I was in this other class and we were still, finishing our project. And so I said, how late were you? Do you know? And he was like, maybe I was like 10 minutes late to library. And he said, right now we have these cool passports or like, which sound really cool actually. And I think they should have them for adults, but essentially it's a workbook, you answer questions, you need to like read books from different genres and answer questions about them and maybe share, something about them. And then like you get stickers. I really like stickers. So this would be something I would be totally into even as an adult. Anyway, so he said, because he was late, everyone already had their book, passports, and they were working on doing the activity so they could get like their stickers or their points. And so he also, is motivated by these things. And so he asked, hey, first he asked his friends, like, where are the passports? And they said, oh, we picked them up, in this place. So he went there and he said they weren't there anymore. And so he approached the library teacher, but she was already giving a lesson or discussing, what they were supposed to do, engage with other people. And so he did try to ask her, like, where are the passports? And she was like, well, why are you late? Everyone, has their passports. And he did not want to say, that he was in this other class in front of his other classmates. And so I think he didn't really answer the question, but, was like perseverating. I'm like, but where is the passport? And she was like, yeah, but you're late and I'm busy right now. And so he never got his passport. He felt deflated about it because he really wants to get his stickers. And so, he said, like, I, read my book or whatever, but then I have some anxiety, about going back to the library. And he was like, I do want my passport. And so, immediately, like, I was thinking, like, well, you could do this, or like, grr, why is library teacher being, like, mean to my son? Should I go and talk to her? Just, like, all these, like, thoughts are just, like, running through my mind. And then I was like, wait a second, is this really, like, my problem to fix? And then I was like, no, it's not. I want my son to be able to, like, navigate this in his own life. And so one of my favorite questions that I've learned from coaching and that I actually asked him is like, okay, well, what do you think that you could do to not, have a repeat of last week? And he was like, I don't know, which is, a common thing our brain offers us, and also children's brains offer them all the time. I don't know what we want to eat. I don't know what to do. I don't know. He's like, that's why I'm asking you, right? Or coming to you with this problem. And I said, okay, what if you did know, like, what to do? He was like, that's weird question. And so that's like a great follow-up question, right? Like when people say, I don't know, or even if you yourself offer yourself, like, I don't know, when you're trying to fix a problem, but then, what if you did know? And so he was like, well, he's like, one thing that I could do that I think is risky is, just try the same thing again, go and try to talk to her and maybe ask to talk to her. That's important. And just, be persistent in trying to talk to her. And he's like, but I think that's risky. And I said, okay, well, we can talk about it again, because it wasn't that day. It was the next day. And so the next day in the morning, I remembered, that we had this conversation. And I said, oh, have you thought about, what you're going to do today at library? And he was like, oh, yeah, I thought about a different solution. And I said, oh, what is it? And he said, I can just ask my teacher in my smaller class. He's like, because sometimes we just get really into what we're doing and we lose track of time. But I can keep an eye on the time and say, hey, teacher, can I leave, 5 or 10 minutes early so I can get to library on time? And I was like, oh, what an awesome, simple solution that, I would have never come up with, because I didn't know that he could do that. Or I don't know, I just hadn't thought of that. And so that was like a simple, elegant solution that he came up with himself and implemented. And then he was successful. So he got his workbook. He told me about this like very interesting story that he read. And he was like, actually, the book that I read was recommended by my teacher in the, smaller class, which is why I chose it. And then, so, I told him, like, I have to go to the library, and he was like, oh yeah, totally. And you should check out this book. And then he did, and he was like really engaged in his class, got his stickers, everything was awesome in the end. And my solutions were like way more complicated and did not ever need to be implemented. And so just to sum up, when somebody comes to you, or even like in your own daily life, if you're thinking you encounter something, you can ask yourself these questions and they can help. Number one is this my problem? And like, do I And what I mean by like, is this my problem, is like, do you personally like need to do anything to like fix it? And yeah, is it a problem that even needs like fixing? But that's where my brain goes anyways, to be like, this is my problem, I need to fix it. And then if it's not your problem, you know, but you do want to offer like some guidance, or you're, you know, just interested in like trying to help the other person like problem solve, sometimes you can ask them, you know, what I asked him is like, well, what do you want to do? Or what do you think like the solution is? So that's the second question. And then for follow-up, if they say, I don't know, or they're just like, you can ask them, you know, what if you did know? And I think that like just little extra, you know, does like open up some possibilities. And some that also helps me sometimes, you know, when I am pulling blanks or thinking like, I don't know how to solve this problem, or this is just like impossible, to ask, you know, what if I did know? And then sometimes you can just see what comes out of that. So I hope this was interesting and helpful, and I'd love to hear if you ever use this in your own daily interactions. Bye.